Hi, this is Scone Mason again. I'm going to read another essay, a new essay that I've written called The Importance of Randomness. I still haven't figured out exactly how to read something on the screen and make it look like I'm looking right into the camera. I don't have a teleprompter, so I have to divert my eyes again and look funny reading it. So that's just how it's going to have to be, but I hope you enjoy this essay. Thanks. One of the things I hear religionists talk about a lot is their inability to believe that life on Earth, the existence of the Earth, and the existence of humans originated with random events. They basically make the conclusion that if there is not a creator, then existence is random and therefore meaningless. Existence is most definitely random, but it is most definitely not meaningless as a result. In fact, it is randomness that makes life so special, from the first fertilization of the egg that becomes our embryo to our last breath. For many people, their egos demand that they exist for a special reason that is written down somewhere in heaven, determined by God, and therefore everyone has a reason to exist, and a purpose given to them by God, and nothing is random. When in reality, random things happen to people every second of every minute of every day, and religious determinists credit those events in hindsight to a mysterious vagary they call God's will. Of course, the problem with the determinist line of thinking is that if you just look around you and observe without dogmatic prejudice, you realize that every fucking thing in life is random. Randomness is not only the way things work in reality, but the very existence of each human being is based on a random happening. And from that point on, everything in life is random, and randomness can be traced back to the very beginnings of life on Earth. The proof that each human life is not only a result of randomness, but actually depends on randomness, is inherent in our existence. And what I mean by that is that the two most important events in each life are completely random. Those events are birth and death. Let's take death first. It's the easier of the two. No one knows when they will die. Not soldiers, not terminal cancer patients, not fucking clergymen, not fucking psychics. No one knows when they will die. There is no more random an event in a human's life than their death. It is a certainty that it will happen, but no one, no matter what religious dogma they believe or what the fucking tarot cards say or what they think they know, no one knows when they will die. I challenge anyone to prove otherwise. Death, people, is random. When someone dies unexpectedly, a religious determinist may say that God had other plans for them, or that we can't know God's plan for them, because it seems that they want to avoid admitting that someone has, as they put it, died in vain. So much importance is attached to the idea of life having some special and obvious purpose that when the idea is completely struck down by the randomness of death, the determinist just makes up a reason for the death to, quote, not have been in vain, unquote. The truth is that all death is in vain, according to the determinist way of thinking, because all death cannot be predicted, and that's where this mindset fails. Death is a fact of life, and it is random, and there is no great meaning to someone's death. Everyone dies. Sometimes a person dies during an event, such as a war, that makes us see their death as having some greater purpose, but that is done in hindsight by those of us who survive. Given the choice, the dead person would gladly rather continue living. Even people who die for a cause would prefer to fight for the cause and live to see the fruition of their actions, unless they are suicidal, which is a mental illness. Once a person accepts that death could happen at any time, and that it has no meaning one way or the other, except that placed upon it by those who live on, and therefore has no meaning for the decedent, then that person can stop worrying about death and concentrate on living life to the fullest. Of course, the main pillar of religious thought is the fear of death, so overcoming or negating the fear of death and the acceptance of its randomness is antithetical to religious thinking. That is why you never hear a clergyman comfort the loved one of someone who has died with the idea that all death is random and unpredictable, and that the best way to deal with the death of a loved one is to remember and celebrate the life they had and accept their death as part of that life. Now to birth. How can birth be random? Well, the truth is that you are who you are. We all are who we are based on a completely random event. In fact, the numbers involved are so huge that randomness is the only explanation for why a human being is born to be who they are. We are not created by a bearded man who lives in the sky. We are the result of millions of years and billions of random events piled on top of each other. And here is how it works. Every person on this planet, whether they are watching this video or not, are the product of a sperm cell fertilizing an egg. Whether it is in a test tube or from their father fucking their mother, no one stands on this earth as the result of divine spontaneous creation that we know of. Every man jack of us, women included of course, emerged from the womb of a human mother that was impregnated by their biological father, or in vitro fertilization or artificial insemination. No one spontaneously appeared on the earth, and even the most hardcore religious fundamentalists would have to agree with this. Every time a normal fertile man ejaculates, his semen contains 50 to 100 million sperm cells. Among those 50 to 100 million swimming cells, only one will fertilize the egg in the woman that will eventually become a person if all goes according to pregnancy. With artificial insemination, the number of sperm cells is similarly high. With in vitro fertilization, a healthy sperm cell is chosen at random with no knowledge of the person who will result from that fertilization. No two sperm cells make the same person, which we know because of twins. Fraternal twins, which are the result of two eggs being fertilized by two different sperm cells and gestating in the same womb, often don't even look alike. They may have similarities, but they are not copies of the same person, often can be of opposite sex, showing that each sperm cell among the 50 to 100 million per ejaculation would make a different person. With identical twins, the fertilized egg divides in the womb, which develops into two people with the same DNA, but even then, they are two separate people. They tend to look alike, often act alike, but can be different to the point that one is gay and one isn't, due to the biological differences that can exist even between two people with the same DNA. No one can predict when a fertilized egg will divide or when two eggs will be fertilized. Twin pregnancies are completely random events that show us that each sperm cell and each fertilized egg would combine to make a different individual. Therefore, the fact that you are who you are was a 1 in 50 to 100 million long shot. Not the predetermined creation of a supernatural being who conjured you out of the air. You were born from one completely random joining of cells among 50 to 100 million different possibilities. Had you been conceived with the next sperm cell in line, you would have been a different individual. Randomness was there at the moment of your conception, at my conception, at all our conceptions. With this knowledge, we can see life for what it really is. And that is a precious, amazing, and rare opportunity. It is not a predetermined path laid out by an imagined creator who leaves us not a single piece of evidence of his or her existence. It is an amazing random event. We got to be who we are. And that is why life is so precious, so valuable, and must be lived and enjoyed in each and every second that you get. Any time spent worrying about what happens to you after you're dead is a waste of precious and finite lifetime. The clergy who manipulate people into supporting them create entire life-wasting procedures to keep people focused on supporting the clergy and the churches instead of enjoying their own lives to the fullest, which is what everyone deserves. Ultimately, the message is, don't be afraid of randomness. It is the reason we're here. The meaning of your existence is simply the meaning you give it as you live your life. It's up to you to decide what your life means, and to do it at every moment, because death is so random, as it should be, and death is just the end. It has no meaning for the person who dies beyond it being the random end of their life. That is why we should all strive to make our lives, and the lives of other humans, as fulfilled and satisfying as possible right now. Without fear of death, without wishful thinking and begging to imaginary beings. We need to all live the best lives we can right now. This is Scone again. I just want to say thank you to my subscribers. Thank you for people who viewed my videos. I hope you'll rate this one and subscribe and comment as much as you want. Make a video response. All comments are welcome. Thank you.